getting to know yourself just a little bit better. And I can't do that by myself because one, I'm not pretty enough, and two, I don't have the brains for that kind of stuff. So she's an award-winning author. She's got all these long list of accolades, and she's also like probably one of the best people I know. Hi, friend.
Hello, friend, and you're plenty pretty.
How you doing?
Fine, and you?
Yes, good. Thank you. It's Wellbeing Wednesday with Petra Laranjo. We're talking today about boundaries and sort of that whole. And I noticed it's about the behavior of self-love, and we touched on this at the end last week, where about how we should not be mean to ourselves and how there's a way to talk to ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
So boundaries aren't walls, but they are clarity. They are clarity is kindness, right? So let's talk about this for a second. Why do we struggle to say no?
So my favorite condition,
Okay.
and also, I mean, it always goes back to that, and also, and it looks different slightly for men and women. Women generally, we want to be seen as selfless because that's how we were raised.
Yes.
In this society, if I'm going to choose me, generally it means I'm choosing against you. So there's the polarity that we buy into.
100%.
Where we think that if I'm choosing myself, I'm excluding you or I'm anti you, where actually there's space for and.
Yes.
So really with boundaries, so many people are trying to keep the peace. So I will rather sit back or bite my tongue or say yes to be agreeable, to fit in, to not look like the one that's being difficult, not be the one that's challenging you, not stir the pot. So many times in the name of keeping peace, it's easier, and I'm using air quotes here very loosely, but it's easier in those 10 seconds to let someone else get away with overstepping the boundary. And boundaries also take work. It's constant reinforcement.
Yeah.
So many times it's, we think, well, it's easier for me to just do whatever you're asking me to do as opposed to me saying, no, look, this is my boundary. I don't have time, I don't have space, I don't have capacity. And also using the different languaging. We're not exactly to your point where you said, the boundary doesn't need to be a wall. It shouldn't be a wall. It's when you treat it as a wall that it becomes separation.
Yes.
So it's you versus me.
Yeah.
Whereas if we look at it almost as a line in the sand, where this is what a boundary is for me, what's good for me, what supports me, and what supports you, and how can we find that middle ground?
So it's almost about what's good for me, and if it's not good for you, it doesn't really matter.
Reframe that.
So there's a thing of if it's good for me, if my boundary works for me, it doesn't have to work for somebody else.
Yes, absolutely. Completely, because we're all so different and independent. We're wired so differently. So what I need in my life, for example, that I feel more at peace, that I feel more at ease, that I feel happy and joyful, might look completely different to you.
Correct.
And that's completely acceptable. It's just how do we coexist in harmony as humans? And I think a lot of it sometimes is the lack of communication. You and I aren't chatting about
100%.
Well, this doesn't work for me. And then you'll turn around and say, well, this is what I need. Okay, great. Well, how can we find the middle ground? I think that's what's lacking so many times.
Without compromising your or my sort of the values that we've constantly trying to reinforce. So how sort of I struggled with this question in particular. How overgiving erodes well-being.
Well, you're constantly saying no to yourself. You're devaluing what you need. So the more you do that, the less self-trust you have in yourself. And by that, it means you're going to have less trust in me. You're going to have less respect for me as well. So by constantly saying no to myself, I'm devaluing my self-worth. And it knocks your confidence as well. So in how you show up in the world.
Yes.
And also the ability to actually live and create a life that fulfills you. And that's so many times when we go into that automatic gear where we just coast along, because it's easier to coast along than reinforce what we need in our lives.
It is, because it's one of those things of we're just not gonna. I don't feel like doing this today. This is not This is not who I feel like being today. I've had a really tough week in the last 4 or 5 or 6 days, and sometimes I have to remember generally to be good to myself and kind to myself. And for somebody in my position with my autistic challenge, I forget that sometimes it's not acceptable to talk to people in a certain way. And even if I'm okay with it, it doesn't mean it's okay for other people. So I had a screaming, I was the one screaming. I had an episode at the gym last week where I told somebody who didn't know me from a bar or so, and I told them exactly what I thought of them. And it was just because I was having a really tough moment. Now, if I respected myself enough and I'd taken the time to take a step back and go, you know what, this behavior is not very loving and it's not very becoming. And a couple of days later, this other human came to me and said, "Are you okay, man? Are you okay?" And I did not see that coming. I was expecting a final written warning at work because he was a customer. So I feel like taking the time to just taking a step back, and I feel like that's so important. Taking the step back and going, but it also happens so quickly. You know?
That's where having the conscious awareness of how you want it to show up in the world is so important. Because if you are just reacting to everything that happens around us, to how life happens, again, equates to us, versus our choice and our agency on how we want to show up, absolutely, that's when things are going to catch us off guard and we're going to react versus responding. And Paulie, what you mentioned there about pausing, it's actually one of the frameworks I use. When you're finding yourself irritated or annoyed that your boundaries are being crossed or you're not feeling accepted, is apply the pause. And it's an acronym for, so P is for pause, so to take even 3 seconds before you respond or react, to catch your breath and just say to yourself, just to ground yourself. And then the A is for ask questions. So ask questions of yourself. Well, what is going on here right now? What do I need? Why am I being triggered? Really checking in with yourself. And then the U is for understand, and that's checking in with what your body's doing. So, you know, the research shows that our bodies, our nervous systems, are very aware of what's going on before our logical mind can figure it out.
Got you. So
if you're taking a pause, if you're taking a second to check in with your body and thinking, okay, well, what is going on here in my body? It takes you out of the reaction and it focuses on you. It gives yourself the time to think, okay, well, is my throat closing up? Are my shoulders hunching over? Is my stomach knotting? Because then that's an indication of, okay, this.
It's a physical manifestation.
Completely. So if we can listen to that and trust that, your gut instinct, but then you can get out of your head and the response and the automation.
Gotcha. And
then the S is for simply state it. So state to the other person if they're perhaps crossing a boundary, is saying, look, this doesn't work for me. Or if you're asking me to do something, saying, look, I don't have the capacity for this right now. But just be as simple as possible. Don't over-explain it. Don't try and justify it, which is, I think, what so many of us do.
Gotcha. And
then the E is to exit. Yeah. So, again, don't make a big thing about it. Just
this is not for me, I'm out.
And it's a full paragraph, actually.
Yeah. No is an acceptable answer.
Completely. It's not backtracking. It's not over-justifying, over-explaining, trying to make you feel better about it. It's just, well, this is the answer. It doesn't work for me. Or let me get back to you. And then leave it at that.
For some people, I know people like this, also because I'm one of them, avoiding people you say yes to. I think we all do that. I'm like, not this guy again. Yes. Not this guy again. Because it's easier. I've always found that it's easier to say yes to somebody than it is to say no. Yes. And my mother always taught me, my mother said, when you pray, just remember, when you ask your deity for something, just remember that no is also an answer.
Yes. And you know what, no, the more, and Paulie, this is something I struggled with my whole life because I was brought up to we've spoken about this before, giving is better than receiving, and be the nice, sweet, agreeable child that is helpful and helps everyone else. So I got into that pattern very early on. And it was all about, the industry I'm in is about helping others, humans, animals, the planet, through my charity as well. So it's been a big learning experience that's taken a lot of intentional action and change to change it for myself. And it's actually become a muscle. It's a muscle that we practice. It's actually become so liberating and so empowering for me, where when people ask me for favors now, and I've shared the story before, where some of the charities, I've supported over 40 beneficiaries over the years, and they've had my number on speed dial, and I've burnt out more than once because of it, because of my capacity to help. Generally, I'm going to help. Where I've had to teach myself that you're actually not as effective if you are burnt out anyway. And doing something all the time and being at the ask and the call of everyone else isn't honoring for my body, my being, my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, my spiritual well-being, my relationships. So I've started learning to say no. And again, I think we avoid people when they say no because we think we're going to offend them, we're going to hurt them. If we just reframe it again, I'm a big fan of reframing everything. And if we reframe it with kindness and saying, Paulie, I'm saying no to you. I don't have to explain myself.
You don't.
It's just, that's not light for me right now. Or it's not going to bring me ease or joy or
it doesn't serve me right now.
It doesn't serve you right now. You can do that with kindness.
Absolutely.
And I had someone where I was quite blunt with her. She asked me to judge, and it was for fundraising, but she asked me to judge I think it was a kids pageant or a talent show.
Ooh.
And I was so busy with so many projects, and this was on a Saturday for the full day. Couldn't think of anything worse. And I was honest with her. I was like, May, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for thinking of me. I would love to support you in some way, but this is not going to be fun. And I literally said, this is not going to be fun for me. And she laughed so much. Like, Pete, thank you for your honesty. It's so refreshing. So sometimes just really being honest can be refreshing and can build a different type of
100%. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the whole selfishness versus self-respect. We'll be back on the other side of this. 919 Clean Bandit A7S. And it's called Everything You Can. Jumping right back in with Wellbeing Wednesday with Petra Laranjo. I said right now, man. It is right.
Yes.
What did I say? Laranjo.
Laranjo.
It's like you were from Spain or something.
Fancy. Just thoroughbred Portuguese.
Love that. Let's jump back in here again. Selfishness versus self-respect. Where's the line? Selfishness is saying only I matter, and self-respect says what? What are you talking? What do you mean? How do we explain the difference clearly?
That's such a powerful question, because so many times we don't do something because we think, well, I'm being selfish. So we almost make ourselves feel bad, and we go into judgment, self-judgment, because me doing this for me means it's selfish. So I think we need to re-look at what selfish means, and exactly to your point of being choosing yourself. So it's not being selfless, because that means putting yourself out of the picture, putting yourself in the background. But it's choosing. Choosing for you. And choosing for you, again, doesn't mean you're choosing against someone. So I think that's also something that I want to highlight is, so many times people make decisions like, let's say someone leaves a relationship, like, oh, but I'm choosing for me. That's fine. But you can do it in a way that's kind of for the other one, that isn't selfless for yourself, that you're not giving up your agency, that you're not giving up your needs.
Yes, of course.
And you're considering the other person as well. So just like boundaries, there are kind ways to do something. Sometimes if someone keeps overstepping your boundaries and you've been very clear about it. So we also need to notice that we aren't mind readers. So sometimes I might cross a boundary without knowing. And unless you specifically tell me, Petra, I'm reacting.
You're not a mind reader.
Completely. I'll just keep overstepping. And I'll just think you're overreacting because I don't know it's a boundary for you. So that's where the onus is on you to say to me, P, you've crossed this boundary. This is why it's important. And you don't need to use the word boundary. But you can say, this is what works for me. This is what doesn't. And this is why I responded this way.
Got you.
Then I can either respect and acknowledge that
100%.
and not do it again. And if I do it again, you can remind me. Because sometimes it's just, it's the way people are. We're not always being conscious of that.
100%. What does it feel like when we, physically, when we ignore that boundary? It's like whole tight, is your chest tight, and the jaw clenched, like instant regret that after you say yes. That for me is the biggest sign.
And it could be coupled with anger, resentment, frustration, feeling like you want to never see the person again, like you mentioned, where you just want to avoid.
Yes.
And then, listening to your body. If you walk away from that conversation, you've got a headache, you feel nauseous, you're irritable, you start snapping at others, that's a great opportunity to pause, to use the pause, and to look at, what's going on for me? What is this and what can I do with it? I
find you've got some really useful stuff, and you and I have had a lot of offline conversations, and we talked about mental health and the older generation just not and I don't know if it's a willing thing or it's just not willing to learn, or it's just complete ignorance. And I told you a story about a member of my family saying, you know what, you need to just walk it off. And you said to me, say this to yourself, it's just an opinion. And do we have something usable like that? Like, let me check my capacity and I'll get back to you.
That sounds so convoluted, right?
Or I can't commit to that, but I can offer this. What does that look like in terms of advice for our listeners?
My go-to is let me get back to you. Because it doesn't mean I'm going to say no. Sometimes I need to check my calendar, and I don't want to impulsively say yes to then feel like I'm disappointed, because then the disappointment is going to start a whole other cycle. And
guilt and blah, 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 blah.
So my go-to is, let me get back to you. Because it gives me the space to assess, can I commit to this?
Gotcha.
If I can, what does that look like for me? I'm saying yes to you, but what are the parameters?
Gotcha.
And then it allows me, if I do choose to say yes, to completely commit.
Yeah.
So not to, be one step in, one step out, is saying, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
And if it's not, it's acknowledging why I can't, why I'm choosing to make the decision, because that is empowering. Yeah. Yes,
I say yes, but.
Or yes, and I can't help you right now, but what about, I can't go for coffee with you, I don't have the space. I mean, the amount of people that ask me for coffees and to pick my brain and is overwhelming.
I'm sure.
And I'm really honored that people want to chat with me, but I do not have the space.
100%.
So sometimes, I can't have a coffee, but if you've got a question, send it to me. And of course, this isn't free coaching.
Sure.
I can't
absolutely.
just give random advice.
This is your experience. This is your business. This is your life.
Completely. And also, sometimes just giving advice on something that I don't have the background for is also highly irresponsible.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to be doing it. I'd rather ask questions in a formal setting. But there are times where I can say, look, I would love to assist. I can't do this for what I can do. So I also get asked to speak at so many charity events, because I've also got the charity or donate. And I've had to learn to say, look, I prioritize mine first. So every time I say yes to something else, I say no to what I'm building within my charity. So I can't support you in this way. But what I can do is connect you with someone or share it on my social platforms. So it's looking at, all right, what can I do if I can?
Gotcha. The favorite part, this is always the most favorite part of my show, the just one thing. What's the one small boundary that you can practice this week? And we're not talking about being dramatic or being honest or things that we as humans should already know. But what is that one small boundary that you could practice this week?
So look at where you constantly get frustrated, irritated, annoyed. Because either it's a specific person, and I'll use the word trigger, that we feel triggered by. And I mean, there's so many layers of that, so I'm not using that as an overarching term. But look at those areas. Maybe it's a client, a relationship, family, whatever that is, because you know that comes up all the time.
Gotcha.
Like we know that there are certain people, like you said to your point, that we avoid.
Yeah.
So where are the types of relationships that you know that every weekend you've got to get together with these people?
Correct.
You know you're going to get triggered by something. How can you prepare yourself in advance? So
Just
I think
avoid
it's oh, maybe depends on the. But look, if they're constantly, intentionally
antagonizing,
disrespecting, then absolutely. I mean, there have been people that I have that have been family or extended family that I either do not spend time with, and they know, where I don't care who the person is. If you're constantly disrespecting me, then this is my boundary. I'm walking away. I'm not engaging. I'm not entertaining until the point where you come and apologize and truly acknowledge what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Or I need to see this person, but I'm just going to limit the time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be there for the full day, but I'll pop in for a couple.
100%. So it's like that. Boundaries aren't walls. They're clarity. Clarity, in my opinion, is kindness to others and to yourself. My friend, it is always a blessing. I love this. Even if I'm having the toughest day or the toughest week, when I get to chat to you and you just like put it all in perspective, I love that. And I love that about you, that you could just like a few words and boom. If people want to check out your stuff and come and see you or your charity or stuff like that, where can we find you?
The central point is my website, petralaranjo.com. I'll spell it out. Laranjo.
It's not facetious at all.
Not at all. Because I don't think anyone's ever spelled my surname correctly, and it's fine. It's not a typical one, which is fine. So that kind of branches off to everything.
That's .com.
.com. And then I will be uploading, of course, this chat on my YouTube channel, same Petra Laranjo, and then also on my website, on the blog, I share the pause method. So if you wanted to really look what that is for pause, what it means, what it breaks down, how to do it, it's on my blog today.
Divine. Friend, thank you. We love you so much. And we can't wait to see you. Oh, do we have an idea of what's happening next week, or is it we're keeping it a surprise?
Next week's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot lighter. It's a lot cheekier.
Amazing.
And it applies to every single human, whether you're in a relationship or single or it's complicated.
I'm excited.
This one's going to be fun.
Lekker. Friend, thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.